Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Well, Bavaliam Shuashalta St Claare Show. My name is Robert Gutting Carswell, Robert the Carswell.
I've heard tell of our Bobby Bob.
And it's my pleasure to present this programme, which is called Claare Gael. In the English language, as Sechilg, and in the Manx Gaelic, Mina Murray, the mother tongue of LENNON, the Isle of Man. As Banach and Jurish. Well, having led us out to Glen Mai, as it was in his day, and briefly onwards towards Dalby, the Reverend Thomas Stephen is bringing us back now on the Old Patrick Road via Ballamore and Ballacosnan. And he's also noted another smart villa, unnamed, but I suspect it may be Ballabrui or Slewallian, because both of these were the homes of members of the House of Keys at the time he was writing, which was in 1832. To Mina Murray, Corcuntig J. Whitby, as Jane Furt and Shen. Esh ta sin cawn in dres a rullic McGirt and Chiel Skira, Merish Mina Murray as a chara Lucy Westenra. Chouds de Shan dunye ginch down Machion and Rullic as Machion the Lika Itangi. We'll start with a track from the newly launched album LOUGH by RUTH KEGGIN and Rachel Hare. Tashu geistach rish radio vanning station the nation, viscol skeliena was stulish, Alan Vannin.
Vuddee veg, lianu mochri, jig machasan anyaga bojulani, shina marskian kana hasten vogu, shanka fodura jinu jinju. Vuddee veg, shin thou the Lau Venus briach den erecto, den red castellia vi filia treta spin, shula ma red mat hochiri machri. Vuddee veg, be merach Bram, nag jeven chriensus risha teavora hel, ni en fanogas as ni uroia, astach lich nishta hoire shunach Vuddee veg, stiacham staliavi, Saucher as blais he calma potavi, Judai the Julian don Traishistach as Gauda Eshan Stach Runya veg John.
Annie Kissack's song Vuddee Veg, with the voice of RUTH KEGGIN and the harp of Rachel Hare from their new album LOUGH. We're somewhere out along the Patrick Road, perhaps back in St John's by this time, having observed that one particular charming villa. Thence onward rises many a roomy house, where farmers' bacon hang, and oft carouse. The shades of night come on apace, and you would better guard you from the nightly dew. Drive back to Douglas, and another day I'll tell you what you may see, and I can say. Which brings us on to a third day of excursions. This morn, the curtains of your eyes advance for views more pleasant than they have in France. It's quite sweeping, isn't it, really, the entirety of France? Anyway, this morn the curtains of your eyes advance for views more pleasant than they have in France. If you to Ramsey would desire to go, 'twere better by 2 ways than one, you know, to go and come. The road by Bishop's Court, Kirkmichael, then round Laxey, a retort. I think by that he simply means another twist back, another way round, a retort, another twist or turn on the return leg. So we're going out westward to Ballacrane and then north by way of Kirkmichael, past Bishop's Court, then back from Ramsey via the coast road through Laxey. Stjeshe Glen mae'r, ach tred yn mŵr rhaon te tannach sulgus weg, as chanel ach strw yn esgon, rai edder granchen geni, leis carrican on shaws on shen. Chow mwy jane furt an chow shaw, to scare wŵr girisús rish mush lievila, as an oer birach gi rai macht the girach vai chow chulu jane tour sailsha jazz. Eg an chawn gi ta bwy leis clag, bis leist ons droch eirish, as te cor maach shean dobbernach gie. Sain thou braich jane shan dunje mich on shaw, te chitten red shaw. Shan dunje kweche, te fi shan, gin aurus, no de wel een edin eg a len chramanach as cast gurish roost bilje. Te ginch thou de wel bunnes chied blain. As de rawin de Leitir se flod easty se Greenland, tref a Waterloo gull kaga. Straliam grey de wel na feich aurusach, ledden de aurus de chuljurid. Vraimi jay machon de clig a boer as a ven sen ab. Well, this is an early recording by MEIC STEVENS, recorded in late 1967, and it includes the clarinet of Geoffrey Swales, a band leader in Cardiff at the time, and they're also joined by Gwyn Edwards on bass and Maxi Cole on 12-string. Ble mae'r bore? Where's the morning?
Yng nghanol nos mor ddi a goer, mi gysgais drwm mewn gweri dail, uwch fy mhen y ser a'r lloer, yn aros am y dydd a'r hael. Ble mae'r bore? Bore braf. Ble mae'r wennol? Ble mae'r haf? Mae'r chogion dieithyr ar y traeth, rhywun yn canu i'r gornair, milwr a'i chleddif bwa saith, cyrfa oedd fawr mewn coed ar gwair. Ble mae'r bore? Bore braf. Ble mae'r wennol? Ble mae'r haf? Ymyd dros y blad, cymylau llwyd, dolain I llechedyn ar y bryn, pobl ar goll heb dŵr na fwyd, ni welais mewn cwsg y pethau hyn. Ble mae'r bore? Bore braf. Ble mae'r wennol? Ble mae'r haf?
And that's MEIC STEVENS with his song Ble mae'r bore, and I would say that was most definitely a sax that Geoffrey Swales was playing, and not a clarinet or a B. Dwrt e 4 jaar. Na gin borrow heen me gewoon och me van egg, tad shenol you couch. Na jai genel mi grey na rawid on riw, ach ta mi grey na rawi jonst Malayan heen. Smai de loor het son kummelty no as keerty is nen lied, ach genees on ben egg yeshgur a cheen. Hudson and Sly Coshi as Yorkers Leeds, ta the kinjach gi scad and sailt as giute, as Gian macht de chonach jet and jou kostelach, Hudson krel skieler be. Ma hon heen, tammy gindis kwai weg jumble in 3 inch dou bregen, hier na peber en najach te ledden de hutlers. Smunny me de bege in a feich mai de inse geridden simoil wash, maar so vrij me jay bege arltach de inch dou riddenach me gaan en jistach whale ons na shaan lijn. Wij just jino saure heen de roil tajacht, tre woele glag share glag. Ach sen ren is streppe de jiri, as doort he, zijn thou gul rom time of an egg. But first, 'tis just requisite to trace our way by slow degrees, or else what can we say of objects as we pass them all the day? First, on the right, is Vernon's little mount. So this is Mount Vernon, but not the house now so called on Belmont Hill. The area takes its name from the Mount Vernon mansion, which was built about 1845 by a Dr. Joseph Curran, originally from Lisburn, County Down. His son was born in County Down at the end of April 1819, so the family evidently moved to Douglas somewhere between then and 1825 when the house was built. That's when Dr. Curran had Mount Vernon built. Our poetical guide is from 1832, and the year before, 1831, Oswald's guide tells us of Douglas and environs that a mile from the town is Mount Vernon, Dr. Curran's, very pleasantly situated. And turning back to the Reverend Stephen, after Mount Vernon, next comes a place of beauties beyond count, a Gothic structure on a verdant slope, with walks, plantations, and the air of hope, youthful and joyous, smiling to invite the passing stranger to a pleasant sight. Well, we'll find out where this is anon. And that's a pipe tune called Captain Carswell, as it happens, played by the Boys of the Lough, with members from Ireland, Scotland, England and the United States of America involved at the time of that recording. Siodiw stasiwn yn asiwn radio fanim, as Cornish e Claare na Gael was Gael Skiliena, as she Robert Cutting Carswell mish, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Now, as it happens, Oswald's guide of 1831 is travelling in the opposite direction to our excursion with the Reverend Stephen. And Oswald's guide says, proceeding to Douglas from Portashee Bridge by the main road, you pass Ballabruey on the east of the road, the castellated villa of Robert McGuffog, Esquire, Controller of Customs for the port of Douglas, having a unique and striking effect. And as Oswald's guide is going the other way, he then goes on to say, next to it, a mile from the town, is Mount Vernon. Well, going away from Douglas, then we passed on our right Dr. Curran's Mount Vernon, and now obviously what we're seeing is Robert McGuffog's Ballabruey, and that brings us to the Quarter Bridge, or Portashee Bridge as is given here. Next, see proud Kirby rising on the hill, with new veranda to exhibit skill. Work on Kirby was started by Colonel Mark Wilkes shortly after he retired from the East India Company in 1813. However, he was barely home before he and his family left the island again for a further 3 years, and we find out about that in just a moment or two. Chamai leis ma own yin veiagnit the few orm tret an te erlu, son te goil treem de strepperish na Grecian as Willian jaw on. As a sen ma ben egg, tan chlag ginstau de vel mi brauwens fame jay stoos on ma volg. Hugh laid the backach soul, as dot mi fagen e ginu sire, chamai as oddach e shees na Grecian. Tan na Grecian ginu susan rid moor savol. Tat gol vain valia suscus a chiel, ta chieden jaw on, chasemus e quod, as tat kada sus ons cruel weg. Ach ten kleine gemeen de vodach kabel shul sus nus at de eishach. Shul sus nus at de eishach. Jam de rouwet de bonnedakkel gonnelt ons acht enjach rishanab. Jem gol de valje nis. Hai Lucy macht de chor kiert merische moer, as an on a rouwet de kierten as korrum, het jacht mish. Be het style jorish en tre shaw. En giet lei mi Lunesen. Henk mi suske saw, oer de henna, Marish Lucy. Now this is a song with words by John Knight, set to music by Michael Matthews. The Song of Cornwall.
Oh
The combined forces of several Cornish male voice choirs with the piano of Agnes Jane, performing the Song of Cornwall. Va cwsh fyr yn esach ein rys mychian chara as yn der fer Eliot had a kinjach chit de ve merish. Scronel eide vel eschen an mainstja oracle na maastok. As jaren de rauwe se treege peach uit smachtach de moer. Genellig goilrish weg. As de shadows der neeshach de chorfo de chulje veeg. Man het wadde argenen a shernodsen te na fooster oru. As eist te gien tostig ac mor codelis rische warlen. For Lucy gien buech millish ons a goon ben lienoch, ek. Te de eilenek nearest te away on shaw. Gauw mi taasten er en de shaan denie jummel treer bi, roos bedenket nis as wein en sai, as de wein en sai, fageston, ge, tre heishin shies. Te gemillish le sjaansteren, liamde den graaiok or I kaarten sjen. Ren eer me gjaan dunje heen, lai shies rooi, as gerenne lord nayak. Ach sja sjen, hug I dout taus doebel. Hug me lord me gjaan kush na sjaan skielen. And Colonel Mark Wilkes went in 1813 as governor of St Helena, receiving its most famous though least willing inhabitant when Napoleon Bonaparte was incarcerated there. Mark Wilkes's term of duty came to an end, and Napoleon was apparently sorry that Mark Wilkes left. Napoleon was also complimentary about the beauty of Mark Wilkes's daughter, Laura, who at that time would be about 19 years of age, born in 1797. When the family returned from St Helena in 1816, work recommenced on Kirby, and Laura Wilkes persuaded her father that it would be worth adding a third story to the building, which we see today. Mark Wilkes had died in 1831, the year before the poem we're reading, and Laura and her husband, Sir John Buchan, took up residence, and this is Laura who, as Lady Buchan, founded the school in Castletown. In fact, Lady Laura and Sir John Buchan had moved in 1831 on the death of Mark Wilkes, and they moved out again in 1835, and they leased it first of all to Sir George Drinkwater, and then they sold it to George Drinkwater a bit later on, famous Merseyside Manx family, the Drinkwaters. And more families now, Irish family, the CASADAIGHs. They visited the island many years ago now. Here they are with another musical family, the LENNONs, and together they sing the song about Peigin Leitir Mór. Peigin Leitir, Little Peggy from Lettermore in County Galway, a song first published in 1911, words by Martin O'Clougherty and Poetical. The CASADAIGH members of the Lennon family there. Then past the woods of Braddon and its rills, until you come to the new Union Mills. Here Englishmen make broadcloth without strife, receive their wages and enjoy their life. A corn mill owned by the Oates family came into the ownership of William Kelly in the early 19th century, and in 1807 he established a new mill for the manufacture of cloth, and these became the Flail and Fleece United, which give their name to the Union Mills. In 1828, fire destroyed both mills. Apparently it started in the corn mill but went to engulf the cloth mill as well. But they were rebuilt and fitted out with new machinery under the management of James Grellier and Company. Now, James Grellier had been a veterinary surgeon with a cavalry regiment during the Napoleonic Wars and came to the island as a half-pay officer. He became involved with what went on to become the Manx Sun newspaper. In the Union Mills, he was involved with Edward Forbes, the father of Professor Edward Forbes, the famous naturalist. Gawi toiach chilirach source de char man. Sain thou coreber cunionair as excursion. Haneach bachnage machas shene is vegelia. Na mollachten as skenen as skenjunen as terriwustje as bogen and shaws ul you mechionok, genellad koeiachs on pechen as mren bolvenach bilach. Geneach bolgenenad. Hudson as ul you noshli as monnachen as rowen, tad ul you kruteg sagerten as slide roch agne insich as ljoren. As seil schienederen en red jarn, de aglach as de choras na mol huschi, as de chores slai ginu riddenach na vellet lal acht elia. Te cor arm ve corri de smullion oru. Ka, she Hudson as gene de loer douwe de chlau bregen pebers preachel nog jou nog se granag, ta greinje de greinje uit na likai. Jich you and shawl you magitum you, creer be an erd sal you, ul you na clach an I shen. And that's the band from Brittany who visited Dracula a few years ago, called Esquisse, with their idiosyncratic brand of Breton dance music on saxophone, clarinet and accordion, plus the drums there as well.
Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn, sien saidjach ymach gynawrys radio fanning. She Claare na Gael and Claare show Merempin, Robert Ctin Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you ever had tell of old Bobby Bob?
Ol you na clach and I shen, cummel sousnin ging Chomaias oddersa, dasnin morn, she blibben a say, veggach, tujum sheesfo, trimit the bregen scrutaru. Short and corp na line, uns cunyan casurik, scrutarus and olju, ach na jai uns bunnes and ye aren't jou, genel corper beyond. As genel cunyan aru few grind the snuff, for the vive casurik. Bregen, olju jou, veggach bregen je kainch na kainch She banny me, ach be must there querche learn a brewness, tret a chit rollen nisons nin lienten besh, ol you foot a chilias, coreber, tarnin lik I meru, the fraul kreeg Mai's vad, pert jou a crow as bibberny, as na lauwenach ho shergit de slauwenach vai vein en lai savour, na vod at eer frail drish gremad. Dat me fagen vai immerke, de vogel, lesje heen, as een achtvee, dim goil sien, dat me fagen vai immerke de vogel lesje heen, as een achtvee Jean McGeets on cordele chomregen, de rauwen shaan dunje, ginu frosh. Fair views are on the right and left along, though few deserve the tribute of a song. Sweet Balafria, high-bosomed in a wood, and eke another building new and good on the same property along the way, just eye them as you pass in fair array. Now, there's a commonplace book, a book of jottings, really, I suppose, compiled at Balafria in the 18th century, and that gives this story. Tradition, an old saying concerning St Patrick. As St Patrick passed through the flat of our farm, east side of the Hackett, it's said that a briar caught hold of his foot and tore some of the foot of his stocking, so that he was a little passionate, and said, "Let not this field produce any kind of grain that will make a man drunk, that he may be sober to avoid thy briars, and to take care to keep his feet from thy dented prickles." This was about the year 444. He at that time was going with disciple St German to appoint a place to build a chapel therein, which said chapel was built there, and the ruins of it remain to this day. So that's Balafria, a little more about that to come. It does suggest that, that St Patrick may have been a little drunk to cast a curse like that. Anyway, Philip Kane wrote a set of words to fit a tune called The End of the World, which he found in the Clegg collection of music. However, the tune for this particular setting of those words by Philip Kane is by Hayden Wood, and it was published in 1934.
The sea boils up in fury, and thick vapours issue from the land, and through the stormy skies great fiery rocks are hurled. Hear the wind, hear the thunder, see the hills burst asunder. The end of the world. The people run this way and that, they stumble naked on the ground, and shrieks of women, shrieks of men are loudly skirled. Leave the church, leave the tavern, seek the mine, seek the cavern. The end of the world. The angel legions fall in rank, Satan steps boldly to the bar. The awful shadowing flag of judgment flies unfurled. Day of wrath, day of burning, eyes of God, all discerning. The end of the world. The end of the world.
Words by Philip Wilby Kane, set to music by Hayden Wood, and there we heard Shea Apland, accompanied by Sharon Wishart, The End of the World. The keel site on Balafrere is still there, and a stone font was also found there. However, to continue the story further, though not given in that 18th century commonplace book from Balafrere, later St Patrick repented for his hasty words, and he did penance by spending the night on a stone slab, using another stone for a pillow. And there's a large flat stone on Balafrere called Llabi Faric, St Patrick's bed. There's also a Chibber Faric, St Patrick's well. So this is on the right-hand side as you're going up the Ballahutchin. But back to the road anyway, since we're going up the Ballahutchin with the Reverend Stephen. And he says, in the wide distance, see the little church. Now this reference to the little church is Gloucester's Ballacunniam Moor. And certainly there's a keel site on Ballacunniam Moor, but the walls of that would be low and ruinous, not particularly visible, I wouldn't have thought. So I thought this might be a reference to St Runius' church on the hillside, and a complete building. More modern growth of trees and bushes possibly obscures the sightlines that would have existed in the rather barer island of 1832. Hug mi stiach gúdacher ursen freilrish. O, manches Wales, chanelw lord de trom chwsiach wel, ons firnius fel ullien a lik ai sio nieuwjaard. Vuddee de wel fair bacht na gen na wel nieuwjaard, limme jane acht dat korkunte around the fully raw vai. Son ta sly is dat smunien de wel krog en moon gurish a chien, bevisseach och hien. Haneach bregend en kleddenrid. Nesh eishrum, tau chit de sword de yori, as tau fagen rullik shawn de killach. Round me snoggle, nod around me smunnion de bed out cordale, gen around me tiggle de bollach a blasegge. Va fissem de rou riddenach me shawn a chiel, high As tau shielten de wel ulju na klagen shaw me shawn slide on look it on shaw carters corrum. Rem me cordale rish. Eshen, ta carten bolt en breg chits jaag on. Kamma, ta fieden jen a jachten shaw, ta gefollemus kistje ton bega shan dun the Jehania. Now another album released in early July has been Gweno's Tresor, with songs, all but one of them, in Cornish. And we've heard a couple of tracks previewed from it. This is the title track now, which is called Tresor. The title track of the new album, mainly in Cornish, all bar the one song by Gwenno Saunders, and it's called Tresor. Rennig cor ullien de fergin a Cymraeg as renna dulliu gerachdi. As she banny me, crenacht elia odach de way, jich an fair shen, and fair jerinacht chow hall je cavan a rullick, jin lyaie. High me hall as ren me de lyaie. As nimmich feather machnut he de lyaich nacheert. We now have a brief but curious line, and Dunlop's Ellerslie, left in the lurch. Now this is partly what made me think perhaps the little church referred to as St Runius, because Ellerslie used to be known as Ballakillia, so that's the direction we're looking. But we'll come back to Dunlop's Ellerslie next time and find out why left in the lurch. As Cornish and Claare jet the kiaull and Claare Shaw. We finish with some music by visitors to Cruniach in just a few weeks' time, Deaf Shepherd. Chris Pearson is waiting in the wings, ready to bring you 2 hours of the best of chill-out music for you on Sunday evening between 7 and 9. And at 9, Judith Leigh will be opening the virtual late-night listening lounge as she takes us into Monday morning. Ach, Sinead, son and Cheer Shaw. Until the next time then, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert the Carslach.
Old Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night eve. I'm a Crieri, was Orcherlier, as MEIR and shared you will you.
Thank you.